Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into the first ever episode of the Trophy Case Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Pucci, and with this being the first ever episode, I just kind of want to take a minute and give you guys some background about me and kind of how I've gotten here. So, like I said, my name's Anthony. I'm 19 years old. I'm from the greater Philadelphia area, if you can't tell by some of the stuff hanging up behind me. And yeah, in my terms of my athletic background, I grew up playing baseball at a high level throughout my entire life. I've also played football, basketball, lacrosse, and even a little bit of soccer. But as I've kind of transitioned out of the playing portion of my life, I've moved towards my real passion, which is the sports media side. I just love the general debates and dialogue that come with sports. And I just thought this would be a good platform for me to just hop on, give some of my takes, opinions about stuff happening across all the major sports leagues. This won't be a Philadelphia centric podcast. I'll try to keep my bias out of it for the most part, but there will definitely be stuff that we touch on that obviously I'm going to be biased on. But yeah, other than that, let's hop into the first topic. Now, I know I just said that this wouldn't be a Philadelphia-centric podcast, but with the Eagles winning and dominating Super Bowl 59, I feel like it's only right to start there. I know this may come as old news now, as the Super Bowl is almost 2 weeks old at this point, which is crazy to say. But yeah, the Eagles win, dominated Super Bowl. I mean, it was a complete team effort from start to finish. I mean, from the Eagles' opening drive, they were just moving the ball pretty effortlessly. Even with that kind of ticky-tack, go either way call on A.J. Brown. I mean, I personally wouldn't have called it, but then again, definitely I'm an Eagles fan, so maybe there's a little bit of bias there. But in the end, everything evened out. They gave us a makeup call a drive or two later, but at the end of the day, the refs didn't have any part in the outcome of this game. I mean, the Eagles just dominated from the first whistle to the last whistle in literally every aspect of the game. Now, I know at this point, a lot of the national media discussion has kind of already been had. I mean, everybody's heard about the Eagles, obviously, D-line getting after the Chiefs O-line. Mahomes not having his best game, Saquon being limited, the Gene pick six. Everybody's kind of already talked about that at this point. But in this segment, I kind of just wanted to take a minute and go through some of the stuff that I think is more underrated and has kind of flown under the radar that maybe hasn't been talked about in the grand scheme of things that much. So speaking of Saquon Barkley, that's where I wanted to start. I mean, Saquon didn't have his best game on the ground by Saquon Barkley standards, but I mean, he still contributed to the game in a huge way. 96 all-purpose yards. He was huge in the receiving game. He had that one falling down, catch up the sideline by the end zone. But outside of that, I mean, he was limited on the ground, but the Chiefs are stacking 8, 9 people in the box, and just his impact on the game, I don't think has been really talked about enough. Just him being out there, the attention he demands from the linebackers and the safeties, I mean, it opens up the passing game so much. And when you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside, heck, even Jahan Dotson out there making big catches. Obviously, Goddard's been huge throughout this playoff run. I mean, it's just going to be hard to stop. And you can see it. Jalen's reading the linebackers. He's reading the safeties. You can see where his eyes going. He's checking in and out of plays. But I mean, just the attention that Saquon Barkley demands from the defense, it really does allow the offense to fly. And you saw it, the A.J. Brown crossing route where the Eagles even didn't line up the way they were supposed to. Still ends up being a touchdown because they're just that good. A.J. Brown's just that good. He scores on that. Obviously, the deep bomb to Devontae Smith was legendary. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people haven't really touched on Saquon's effect on the game, even though it may have not have come through the conventional stats wise. But another thing I wanted to get in on, which I just touched on, was Jalen Hurts' performance. His IQ at the line of scrimmage, I feel like, is also under talked about. Obviously, there's been a lot of Jalen critics throughout the year, and I've definitely been not. I would not classify myself as a Jalen critic at all. I see the potential in this team, and you saw an NFC Championship, you saw it in the Super Bowl. I just think that those are the type of performances that they can be putting up every week. And there was a little bit where Jalen wasn't performing his best, but I mean, in the end, you just gotta have confidence in the dude. All he does is win. And I had confidence the whole way, but I feel like nobody really talks about how he affects the game at the line of scrimmage. Like I said before, you can see Jalen reading the defense and adjusting from there. All you heard throughout the year was Hurts can't read a defense. It's just Saquon Barkley, stop Saquon. The Eagles can't do anything. But I mean, in the Super Bowl, obviously that was not the case at all. They dared Jalen Hurts to beat them, and he definitely did. And it's not just the audible checks throughout the air. It's his checks into the RPOs, into the runs. I mean, it's honestly phenomenal. Jalen Hurts now has the first and second all-time rushing record in the Super Bowl for a quarterback, 72, and I think 70 yards last time. So yeah, just his ability at the line to check in and out of plays, to see what the defense is showing him and make the appropriate adjustments. I mean, it's also a testament to the coordinators and just the way Jalen's performed. Like, you just got to trust him. I mean, he's QB1. He's made it this far. You gotta trust him to make the adjustments, and he comes through every time. On the defensive side of things, I know obviously you've seen the Bond acrobatic diving interception. You've seen the DeJean pick six. Everybody's talking about the Eagles D line, Sweat, Nolan Smith getting after it, Jalix Hunt. But I think another under talked about part was Jalen Carter's effect on the game. Similar to Saquon Barkley, his effect didn't really come in huge number wise, but again, his presence on the field allows the other guys to eat. Jalen Carter eating up double teams every time allows those dudes off the edge like Sweat and Nolan Smith, like I mentioned, to really just hit home because they're just teeing off. I mean, he's eating up so much attention up the middle every time. I mean, Sweat's going to eat off the edge. Nolan Smith is just going to eat off the edge. And another underrated facet of that is how much it helps the secondary. I mean, just from the D line getting home so fast, that helps out your secondary so much. That helps them in coverage so much. I mean, Quinyon Mitchell, in my opinion, is in the discussion for best cornerback in football in his rookie season. And obviously you see what DeJean can do. DeJean's also a tackling monster. Like, both the rookies play great. Slay plays great, but just being able to rely on your defensive line like that they're going to get home and that you don't have to sit in coverage for 7, 6, 8 seconds. Like, I mean, that's a huge boost for the defense again. And I mean, the Eagles really did just dominate in every way, but those were some of the more underrated parts of the game that I just want to touch on. Now, as the Eagles kind of transition out of the Super Bowl high and kind of living off that for 2 weeks, I mean, I know it'd be great to just keep living in it, but you do got to turn the page. I mean, now obviously Kellen Moore is gone. He's taken a couple people. I assume he might take another one or two. But the Eagles today named Kevin Patullo the new offensive coordinator. He's been Sirianni's right-hand man for a while now. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to go. I feel like everything at this point is just purely speculation because we literally have nothing to go off at this point. I've seen a lot of people draw to the Brian Johnson, some Brian Johnson comparisons. I don't know. I pray to God that that's not the case. I feel like you just have to go into it with an open mind at least. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting that they didn't look elsewhere or out of house at all. They seem to have known that he's going to be the guy. But I just feel like this is such a sought after and high stakes, but like super high possibility job that would be pretty obviously wanted by a lot of people. So I don't know. I just thought that maybe I'm not exactly sure who it is, but I'm sure if they open up this job to the outside search, you would get at least a couple good names in the hat. But I don't know. At this point, I kind of feel like you just have to give it the benefit of the doubt and go into the season with a positive outlook because you can't really base it off anything. He's been, I think, the assistant offensive coordinator or assistant to the head coach. But again, it's not really clear on what that exactly means. So I don't know. You just got to be optimistic. But in terms of the parade, I was out there at 5:45 in the morning. You know, I mean, it was a long day. We were by the art museum, but great day overall. Great day for the city of Philadelphia. I feel like in the national media, Philadelphia gets a lot of flack on just a lot of different levels. But I feel like if you're from the city of Philadelphia and you've been a fan for a long time, you get it, and like you get what it means to the city. And I don't know. I just had a great time. There was obviously some great moments of everybody climbing the poles. Howie gets hit by a beer, but his fist pumping. That's great. Obviously, Quinyon, that was great to see. That was just great to see because Quinyon's I wouldn't say he's quiet, but you don't see him talking that much like in like the locker room and stuff like that. So it was great to see him really come out of his shell and just get wasted. I mean, Nolan Smith's always having a ball, and he was definitely having a ball up there, but it was a great time. All the speeches were great. Obviously, AJ Brown, he's a champion. I know AJ Brown's caught a little bit of flack recently with his post Super Bowl comments, with his Instagram post. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw that, I didn't really think it the best of it either. I think as it's kind of marinated more and I've kind of had more time to digest it, I get what he's trying to say, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like it. I get it. He's saying that the Super Bowl, like the high of it, lasted 2 days, and then it's not what he thought it to be. He's just ready to get back to work. But the way I look at that, if that's what it takes, and that's what gets AJ Brown going, what's there to complain about? If AJ Brown loves dominating the cornerback across the way from him every single week. I mean, that just shows to me that he's focused and locked in every week going into next year. And I just think that that's how you got to look at it. You can't look at this as, you know what I mean? Like, we're going for this, or we got to make it back to the Super Bowl. Obviously, that's the goal, but I feel like you just got to take it week by week and day by day. And if he's focused on the little things and the small picture, the big picture will come with it. So I don't know. I feel like you do got to give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit as well. This is what you work your entire life for, is for this moment. But I don't know. I like it. You know what I mean? Let's get back to work, AJ. Now, I wanted to transition into some NBA talk. Obviously, this past weekend was the NBA All-Star weekend. If you didn't tune in, nobody can really blame you. It's not the most interesting thing anymore. But I don't know. The dunk contest, obviously, Mac McClung three-peats. Only three-peat happening this month, luckily. But overall, I thought it was all right. I don't know. I just feel like the dunk contest hasn't been the same for a little bit now. As long as you're debating who kind of won, I feel like it's a decent dunk contest. You know what I mean? As long as it's not somebody just going up there and laying a couple eggs, like I feel like you can't really complain. But obviously there was the Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama, a little bit of drama because obviously they were trying to cheese the system a little bit with the no 3-point attempt, with just Wemby throwing him to the ground and Chris Paul just kind of throwing the basketballs into the ground to try and save some time. That has Chris Paul written all over it. Obviously, that was definitely Chris Paul's idea. And I saw they even broke out the rule book on him to show him that you have to make a quote unquote legitimate shot attempt, I think is the terminology they used. It was a big debate on online on Twitter, but I do agree. I don't think you should be able to do that. At the end of the day, it's an entertainment product. Like, you're not getting a crazy bonus or no trophy for winning the All-Star game, whatever that is, skills challenge. I don't know. So I just feel like you do have to make a legitimate shot attempt, especially for, imagine all the kids sitting in the stands, or all the people watching at home who actually took the time out of their day to even watch this product in the first place. Like, come on. It really is just makes it worse. I feel like if they're just kind of trying to cheese the system and just to get a better time, like, it's not that serious, dude. It's not that serious. But other than that, with the dunk contest, obviously, Zach LaVine kind of teased coming back. John Morant said something. Giannis said something. Aaron Gordon said something about maybe doing it. But I don't know. There's a couple of different ways you can look at it. You can say, since they're putting it out there and it's on the internet forever, that they're going to come through and next year it's going to be star-studded dunk contest. But I kind of have my hesitations about that. I feel like that's just a lot of dudes kind of just talking and just kind of stirring the pot a little bit, if you will. But I don't know. It would definitely make it a lot more interesting, I think, for everybody if bigger names are competing. Like, could you imagine if it was Ja, Zion, Zach LaVine? He still got bounced. Aaron Gordon, if he still can pull out some crazy stuff. Giannis would be crazy. Obviously, LeBron's never done it, but if LeBron was a little bit younger, that'd be great. Just a lot of the high flyers and bigger names. I feel like even if the bigger names come out and don't do anything like groundbreaking, because I feel like at this point, a lot of the craziest dunks have already been done, and it's kind of hard to really innovate too crazy. I just feel like in general, if they had a more star-studded lineup out there, it would make it a lot more interesting. But speaking about LeBron and his old age, obviously LeBron caught a decent amount of hate this past weekend for him announcing that he's not going to play in the All-Star game only a couple hours before in like an interview. I love LeBron. LeBron's one of my favorite players ever, but got to be better than that, Bron. I saw a lot of people saying that like that could have been somebody else's spot or somebody else could have been playing. And I do agree with that. Like, I feel like if he didn't really intend on playing, he should have let them know sooner. I mean, if he came to this conclusion at the last second, I don't know. I feel like you gotta come to that conclusion a little bit sooner than a couple hours before. And then obviously with that, with their team taking the picture and LeBron's just in his street clothes while everybody else is in the jersey. Come on, Bron. I feel like you got to put the jersey on. You know what I mean? Because that would be a legendary pick. I saw something on Instagram floating around where it's like LeBron's just trying to farm aura in this pick, and I'm not gonna lie, kind of does seem like that. Even if you're not playing, first of all, you should let them know a little bit sooner, and second of all, Bron, just put on the jersey, dude. Like, you're standing there with your leather jacket and your like baseball cap on. Like, come on, dude. But other than that, I mean, All-Star Weekend continues to be a disappointment. The game itself, with the rule of the 40 points, first to get 40 points wins. I feel like it's an interesting concept because I feel like their heart's in the right place, where it's like, if we can get these players to play hard to a certain number instead of maybe throughout like a course of an entire game, like if we can get 6 minutes of great basketball over 30 minutes of not so great basketball, I get the idea, but I don't know. I just feel like it doesn't really work. It's just not it's just not that entertaining. And with Kevin Hart on the broadcast, that was a rough listen. I feel like to anybody under the age of like 40, I love Kevin Hart, but at this point, a lot of the jokes he was making, and it just wasn't really working for me, at least. I don't know. I just thought it was a little bit cringy. But again, Giannis mentioned on a possibility on the way to solve the All-Star game, which is do it Team USA versus the world. He was thinking that that'll make it people a lot more like patriotic and take it more seriously, which I agree to a certain extent. It would definitely make players take it more seriously. So I don't know. Out of all the ideas I've heard, that's the best I've heard, because what else do you really kind of do? I feel like they've tried a couple different formats now. I just feel like it's hard to really get an entertaining basketball product. I feel like the Pro Bowl and the NFL suffers from the same problem. It's just hard to get people to care about it when the players don't care about it. So I don't really know what the next step is for the NBA All-Star break, but this weekend for sure was definitely another not great step in the wrong direction. So with this being the first pod, I kind of want to keep it short and sweet. But before we go, I just kind of want to talk about the Four Nations hockey tournament. On this channel, we won't really talk too much hockey. I've really gotten into hockey over the past couple years, so I'm still not as in depth of knowledge, I guess, or I don't know as much about the game as I would for like football, baseball, basketball. But I do have a general idea. So when big news in hockey comes around like this, we'll definitely talk about it. So obviously, Team USA took on Team Canada a couple days ago. They dropped the gloves within the first, like, I think 5 or 6 seconds of the game. Um, it was just a great game all around if you're just a fan of hockey and just a fan of sports in general. Just it being Team USA Canada, this is like what Canada is supposed to be the best at. Team USA, kind of underdogs, kind of little rivalry there. Obviously, they're right above us. They're our upstairs neighbor. But overall, it was just a great game to see Team USA come out and get that win, and just the way the game happened too. It was just great for hockey visually. That was everything that hockey really represents. It was fighting. It was great goals. It was animosity. It really was everything for a hockey game, and it really makes you think that other leagues really need to start doing something like this. I'm not sure what the answer is across all leagues, but just creating games and creating interest for the sport that just it just really sparks interest and sparks talk. Like, nobody's talking about hockey until the Four Nations hockey tournament, because it was just a great moment. Baseball, the best thing baseball does is that Field of Dreams game every year, where the cornfields and the outfield. That's one of the best things baseball's ever come up with, because it makes it interesting. The NFL, they do the London games, and they obviously had the Brazil game, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I obviously, you got to globalize the sport, but I feel like more sports do need to adopt something like that. And obviously, the NBA has the in-season tournament. That's obviously a success to some degree, but you can definitely tell that the leagues are trying, and I feel like it's a step in the right direction. Even though in-season tournament might not be perfect, or the players traveling to Brazil or to London may not be perfect, I feel like it's definitely a step in the right direction for the sport overall and for the growth of sports really worldwide. So yeah, that'll do it for the first pod. I hope everybody enjoyed. Obviously, still getting used to a couple things, still getting my setup kind of worked out. There should be an Eagles pennant coming soon to kind of really maximize the whole Philly vibe I got going on behind me. Gotta have something for the birds. Come on now, after two Super Bowls, but I could go on about that for a long time. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next pod.